Welcome to another episode of Talk to the Fedora, chatting about hard-hitting, honest entrepreneur wisdom that you can use to grow your small business. My name is Jarrod Goldsmith from eSAX Networking and Sax Appeal Productions, and today we're very pleased to be welcoming entrepreneur Brock Murray on our segment. Brock is an award-winning entrepreneur, author, and digital marketing expert who has helped shape how businesses scale and grow in the digital age. As co-founder and chief operating officer of seoplus, one of Canada's leading digital marketing agencies, Brock has led the company to national recognition, including 5 consecutive placements on the Globe and Mail's list of Canada's top growing companies, along with being named one of Ottawa's best places to work in both 2024 and 2025. He's also the author of The Plus Principle, a book that shares the philosophy behind building a high-growth, client-focused organization. Brock's entrepreneurial journey started early, at just 14 years old, when a high school tech class sparked his passion for web development. That curiosity quickly turned into action, launching his first hosting company and even building an online game from scratch. Growing up in a family of entrepreneurs, Brock naturally began helping small businesses build their digital presence, laying the foundation for what would become next. In 2012, he co-founded seoplus with a vision to bridge a major gap in the market, helping businesses not just build websites, but actually grow through effective digital marketing. Since then, the company has expanded into a team of over 50 marketers, known for its transparency, customer service, and results-driven approach. Beyond his work as an operator, he's also a dedicated educator and mentor, teaching SEO and digital strategy through organizations like Camp Tech and Invest Ottawa, as well as supporting the next generation of entrepreneurs. When he's not building businesses, you might find him competing on the national stage. He's even a 2-time national ball hockey competitor and bronze medalist. Wow, Brock, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jarrod.
So, Brock, let's start about where are you calling in from, please?
Calling in from the office here at Lansdowne in Ottawa.
Oh, that's a great location, right there in the heart of the city. Brock, we touched a little bit about your background, but can you give us a bit more information? Who are you and what is seoplus all about, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as you mentioned, co-founder of seoplus, founded in 2012. We're 14 years strong now, and it's wild. Like, things are changing every day. Every day you're kind of having to reinvent yourself a little bit. At the end of the day, though, like what I do is I help people, right? And help people solve complex challenges. And really it started out helping them with their website and SEO and things like that. And today, with all like the changes in AI and whatnot, it's helping them through those challenges as well. So that's a little bit what we do. But at the end of the day, it's helping people and solving problems.
Right. Well, Brock, I mean, there's no secret that things are changing all the time when it comes to technology. We don't have to get into the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty of it. But how do you keep abreast of all of the changes in technology that's happening these days? And how does that trickle down to helping your clients?
Well, I think the first thing is just like the curiosity piece of just being interested in it, right? Interested in trying out new tools, seeing how it can help us as an organization scale, at the same time helping our clients, right? So that's the starting point. The second piece, like within our organization, is the training, right? Is helping people, showing them some of those findings that you've kind of discovered, showing them some of those cool tools, and then giving them the opportunity to kind of try them within their role, right? Whether it's carving out time in the day or doing it together like in a session. So that's the biggest thing. And then if people have an idea, giving them the kind of opportunity to kind of try out that idea, try out that tool, and apply it to our client campaign. So that's kind of how we approach it. And similarly, like within the public, not only internally, but hosting things like AI meetups, and then having people come speak, and then bringing the community together to kind of work on that together. So that's kind of our approach.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I've been to a couple of the events they hold in the office. Just really well done. Great little networking event with some good knowledge as well.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah. Actually, this is really refreshing because most people, I'm assuming most of your clients and in my industries as well, we're not specialists in tech. We want to leave it up to you guys to tell us how to do things.
Yeah, but I think these days I feel like everyone could at least be involved in some level, right? I think at least having that understanding and awareness, I think, can always help deliver better results, right?
So. Yeah. So Brock, for those of you who are watching and listening today, who would resonate most with your story?
I mean, that's a great question. I think young kind of young people who kind of have a technical mind who are maybe looking to get into business or get into marketing, any of those kinds of things. I think that was kind of my background, right? Like you mentioned, like I started off in my teen years. I really like learned HTML in grade 9 and wanted to apply that. And that's really like the basis of how I eventually started SEO Plus, was just having that, again, that interest in marketing, that interest in kind of web, and then being able to apply it and help people. And that's kind of how I, started my story.
That's wonderful. Actually, I'd love to see all the success that you've had, because I think we first met when you were at the office across from IKEA.
Yeah, you were on Queensview. We probably met in 2013, back when you were still crushing your events back in the day, right? And like, I'm trying to remember where the first one was. It was on the other side of the highway there, where the Fun Haven is.
Oh, it must have been. Yeah, we were at Fun Haven for a little bit for these acts.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember we did some stuff together. And honestly, I met a ton of great people throughout those events, and it was really great for the community as well. So.
Oh, very cool. Thank you. So you started learning about tech and development, web, all that in high school. Did you study business, or did you have a background in entrepreneurship, or you just jumped right in? What was
Not at all. I jumped in. I actually went to work for a local IT company out of high school. And I actually just started off answering phones, right? So it was like someone to basically for on-site computer repair, and I was answering the calls. And it was a relatively small business. They were actually in Queensview as well, and the owners of the business used to kind of walk by my desk, and we would chat a little bit. And eventually, they learned that I did web design, right? And they said, you know what, we might actually have some clients for you. So I ended up working with the owner of the company. They taught me a little bit about how to, create a proposal, how to price. And I remember the first time we were pricing it out, and I was making like $10 an hour at the time, and we priced it out at $100 an hour to this client, right?
Wow.
And I was kind of nervous. I didn't have the confidence. I was like, I just was interested in just helping people, deliver this website. And we actually sold a couple deals to the clients, delivered a couple websites. And for me, that gave me the confidence of like, wow, I can actually do this. And like, people actually see value in this service, right? So that was kind of the beginnings, and then eventually I went off on my own, and that's where when we started SEO Plus.
Wow, that's a really good story, because so many people who are in business, you've heard the expression before, they don't really value themselves, they don't trust themselves, the imposter syndrome even.
Yeah, and it's a real thing, and I think it comes down to just taking those steps, and like we have this kind of we use this thing internally. It's called the comfort zone and the growth zone, right? Growth only comes when you step out of your comfort zone, right? And a lot of times when people are in their comfort zone, and it might be, it might even be going to an event, like that might be scary for a lot of people. And like, what are those steps you can take to grow, to go to that event? And maybe it's bring a friend, right? Maybe the first time you don't even talk to anybody, maybe it's just being there. And eventually maybe it's talking to somebody, and it's like taking those steps to grow. And I think a lot of times people will be surprised how far they can take themselves just by stepping outside of that comfort zone. And for me, it was similar. It's like I was comfortable behind the computer, not so much selling to someone or doing business. And eventually you incrementally increase, for the first thing is $1,000 website. And then I was comfortable selling a $3,500 website. Next thing you know, it's a $100,000 website, right? So it's like, you got to like take those steps. You're not going to do that on day one. But again, stepping outside of that comfort zone can surprise you a lot.
Absolutely. And when I talk to people all the time, the first step to going to a network event is get your step out the door. Go show up. It's going to get easier over time. Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. So you talked about how the person you were working for originally, started talking to you and invited you to collaborate and bid on some projects. Brock, can you talk about how the concept of collaboration, what does that mean to you, please?
A collaboration is actually super important to us as an organization. Like that's actually one of our core values, and it's basically working together, right? It's working together to do great things. I think when you're working in a silo, I think, a lot of times you'll miss out on all other perspectives, on other experience, and things like that. So for us as an organization, we try to like work together. Like one thing that we've actually done within our organization to kind of increase collaboration is we actually have what we call these vision committees. So we actually have 3 committees. One's influence, one's innovation, and one is impact. And basically we have anybody within the team can kind of join one of those committees, and then they work on different initiatives together. So for example, influence, some of them would be like, let's identify events that we could go to as an organization, or if we're trying to get people to speak and do thought leadership, right? So each of those committees has different things they're working on together. And for us, that's a really good way of collaborating, right? Where it might not be within their kind of day-to-day role necessarily, or might not be within the department, but that's where you really get that crossover and really great things can happen.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Over the years, we've collaborated quite a bit. So, keep up the great work. It's really, really interesting and much appreciated when, around the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Brock, let's talk about one of my favorite tips, networking. So you said that you were a bit shy, you were more behind the computer type of guy, but how have you come out of your shell, and do you have any networking tips to share with the listeners today?
Absolutely. Yeah. When we started the business back in 2012, I remember one of my first networking events, and I'm sure I've seen you there many times, was the Greater Nepean Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
And I remember there was the first event I went to, and it was, not a morning person, by the way. So it was bright and early, probably 7 a.m. And it was at this restaurant in Bell's Corners. And I remember, they went around the room, and anybody new would have to stand up and kind of say who you are and what your business is. And I remember I was just dreading the moment it was coming around to me. There's probably 100 people in the room. I had to stand up and, say I'm Brock Murray, seoplus. We help people with their marketing and websites. And I was dreading it. But then what happened? Several people came up to me, started chatting, and then it kind of it became easier. And fast forward to today, the more of these you do, like when I go to an event now I know probably half the room, right? So it becomes much easier because, I know you, I talk to you, it actually becomes fun versus like in the early days, it can seem daunting, it can seem stressful. But I think it's just like, don't overthink. Like nobody's going to think, oh my God, he said the wrong thing. That wasn't a good pitch. Like, it doesn't matter. People just want to chat and don't go into it. Also, like, I actually saw one of your videos about this. Don't go into like this hardcore elevator pitch. Honestly, keep it simple. Be interested in people, be curious, and it will naturally flow. You don't have to force anything, right? Like there's no expectation from people. So those are the things that I've kind of put into practice, and I think everyone could benefit from that.
That's a really good lesson. We've talked about showing up, going out the door. It's going to get easier the more people you know. And I absolutely agree. Nobody likes sales pitches. Nobody I've ever met actually loves sales pitches. And it's being human. And I like to say, talk to people when you meet, even if you have to stand up and give a 20-second pitch in front of, 30 people. What's that emotion that you're trying to express? We do X, Y, Z. That sounds like a little sales pitch, and BNI does that all the time. But people don't really understand the concept of that. So hearing about being human and that emotion, that expressiveness that comes out on why you launched in the first place. Well, yeah, I think more people are going to come up to you and talk. It's like, wow, I could use somebody like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. Brock, thank you for that. We could spend the whole segment talking about this stuff. Like mentorship and coaching. When you started, did you have a coach or a mentor? And do you coach and mentor now, having been a successful business owner for so long?
Yeah, mentorship's super important. Definitely I've had mentors over the years, like my business partner, Eddie, is definitely one of my mentors. And he was always more on the business side of things, right? And he's taught me a lot about how to run a business, how to handle stress and financial pressure, and how to approach situations and all kinds of things, right? So for me, like that can really help you advance or kind of fast forward through certain issues or challenges, or avoid certain challenges. So I think mentorship is super important. I mentioned earlier, like when I was working at that IT company, definitely had some great lessons there. So I feel it's super important. So I've tried to give back in certain ways. So some things we do within the community, like one is I actually used to teach at, like you saw, Camp Tech and Invest Ottawa, and help other business owners specifically with their SEO, their marketing, things like that, Shopify. I also have some people that I mentor as well, kind of on the side, just meeting people and chatting with them and just trying to give back some time there. And then locally, we kind of try to support the big brothers and big sisters of Ottawa, who obviously, their whole mission is connecting, people together, and mentorship and youth mentorship. So definitely an important thing.
Yeah. And I think you're also a sponsor with the 100 Men Who Care.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Very active with them as well. It's so nice to see, the organization having that philanthropic side to it. That's that community mindedness that people like to see. And I think it starts from the organizer. So, well done.
Thank you. Yeah, you have to give back. I think it's super important for any entrepreneur, anybody really, but as an entrepreneur, when you grow your organization, your business, um, like for us, we have probably 55 people here now, and like we know that we can make a bigger impact with that, right? So trying to see how we could have our people helping within the community, right? So for example, locally we have the Ottawa Food Bank. They have the Harvest Farm. So every summer we'll go out there for a couple sessions, help with
Oh,
the
nice.
farm.
Yeah.
Right, 100 Men Who Care, we help them with their events, Big Brothers Big Sisters. Kids Up Front Ottawa is an organization we're actually helping now. We're doing an Ottawa Run Club coming up. So just any way you can help, like whether it's financially, but even just like volunteering, right? You can make a great impact together. So we try to do as much of that as possible, and the hope is as we grow, when we have 500 people, like the impact is going to be greater and beyond Ottawa to other communities as well. So we really try to be involved as much as we can.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as president of the Kiwanis Club of Ottawa, thank you for all the work you do working with youth and helping to make life better for others. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's really, really important, especially it's that culture within the company.
No, it really is. And it does, I think it creates a bit of more of a positive mindset and helping the other people. And that is, like you mentioned, making life better. Like that's our mission. Like that is our mission with the organizations, to make life better, whether it's again on a client campaign or outside of the community, right? So I think the more we do that, it definitely continues building momentum.
Excellent. So Brock, let's talk about somebody who's maybe been in business a couple of years. It's a small business. What type of branding tips would you like to share, please?
Branding tips. Well, I would say there's a few things. One is, I think with branding, you want to keep it simple. I think sometimes people overthink it. They try to do too much. I think keep it simple and be authentic to you as the founder. I think you want to keep it connected there. And I think if you are going to be starting a business, I do think personal branding is extremely important, right? I think these days, I think a lot of times people don't want to be sold by a company necessarily. They actually want to see the story behind the business. And I think with kind of founder-led marketing or founder-led personal branding, I think that can really help things. So we try to do that. I try to share, and that's something I've always done, even from the beginning of the business. Is again, it came from just trying to help people, but like sharing posts on LinkedIn. You mentioned earlier, like shared one today. Like just continually trying to share that story behind the business and genuinely help people. And I think that ties into the personal branding. So that's my approach.
Yeah, really important. And it's consistency across the entire brand is really important, because one voice across your social medias.
Yeah, exactly. And try to focus in, like there's so many options out there, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, you know what I mean? So I think it's try to, especially like when you're just starting out, try to focus on maybe one or two platforms, try to like build up a good audience there. And it's also on knowing where your audience is, right? So for us, we're a B2B business. So LinkedIn is the best platform for us. If you're in a B2C business, maybe selling products, it might be TikTok or Instagram, right? So trying to identify like where's your audience and where do you want to get your message out, where it will resonate. That's a really big thing as well.
Oh, some good wisdom there. Thank you, Brock. Yes. And what about some money or cash flow tips for entrepreneurs? What do you recommend for that?
I mean, cash flow is super important. It's a lifeline of any business. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to profits, right? And to be a healthy business, you have to be a profitable business.
Yeah.
And that's something that we try to communicate within our team is profit is not a bad word. I think a lot of times with public companies, you see profits and it becomes this bad thing, where I think for any small, medium business, profits are extremely important. So knowing your numbers, knowing your revenue numbers, knowing your costs, trying to keep the recurring costs down as much as possible, because the more you can keep those costs down, the more profit you can make. Cash flow, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're selling something, you got to be able to collect that money too. So making sure you have systems in place to be able to, collect your accounts receivable, making sure that doesn't go beyond, 30, 60, 90 days. The longer it goes, the harder it's going to be to collect. And you never want to be in those situations. So I think for any business owner too, is like as much as possible, trying to collect cash up front if you can, with businesses, because you never know. Sometimes like we've worked with businesses where you go in, you're hopeful, you're working, you work hard. Next thing you know, you've been working for 3 months and you never got paid for some reason. So get paid up front, and that'll make a big difference on the bottom line. And always keep an eye on your profits, because that's going to contribute to your cash flow.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched a little bit about, processes of sorts. Like, do you have ideas or suggestions for concept of processes? Like, has anything changed since COVID about that?
Yeah, I mean, Processes for us are extremely important. If you ever want to scale your business, you need processes, you need systems, because at the end of the day, when you're bringing in new team members, and especially when it's multiple team members, if they don't know the way you do things, they're going to do it their own way, and that might not be the right way. And a lot of times, over the course of 14 years for us, there's many things we've done. Like sometimes you make mistakes, and what you want to do, you want to make sure you don't make that mistake again. So what do? You update the process, right? It's not a people issue, it's a process issue. So, and especially now with automation, we're able to kind of take those processes and identify, okay, what can we do within those processes to automate, right? So processes, to-do lists, checklists, all those things are super important. Something we've been working on recently, actually post-COVID, has been actually bringing all those processes and centralizing them in one place, right? Because we found we had all these documents, we had all these sheets, we had everything all distributed. But then it becomes really challenging. Like, where do I find this process, right? So there's that whole piece of it. So we've actually built like this central drive now, where there's also different levels of processes. There's at the employee level, there's also at the management level, there's at the executive level. So making sure that like the right level of access for these different processes, right? So that's something we've been working on as an organization. I'm sure it will continue evolving. I think I see people are creating like AI hubs or brains so that you can kind of quickly pull the process by just asking a question. So that's probably in the near future as well. But that's some of the stuff we've been doing with
it. Well, so you touched on a few things. It doesn't matter if you're a small business or you're scaling to over 50 or maybe 500 down the road. It's a matter of being consistent across the organization. So a new person can come in, hit the ground running, and be accountable to the organization's needs, and that's through processes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they're always evolving, right? Processes it's never like I created it and it's done. Like, okay, then people are going to use it and they're going to find, oh, you know what, let's tweak that, or let's update that, or let's remove that. And also things change, softwares change, everything changes. So the market changes. Sometimes you need to update those as well. So make sure you have a maintenance plan as well within your process strategy.
Yeah, very, very wise. What about some time management tips, Brock? I mean, I know how busy you are. You have a young family. You play professional sports. You're active. You're running the company. How does time management come into all this?
Yeah, time. I mean, there's only so much time in the day, right? So I think it's really important to protect that. Over the years, especially when you're growing a business, like you never want to say no to any opportunity, right? You got to say yes to everything. You never know when you're going to meet someone where that's going to be an introduction, where that's going to lead to things. And I think for us, that's been part of our success is always saying yes. But for myself at this point where, I can't say yes to everything, because eventually, you're going to run out of time. There's only so much time in the day. And you also want to make sure that you're intentional with where you're spending your time, right? So for me, I think it's important that I'm spending time in things, one, where I can add a lot of value that's going to be in my zone of genius, right? So I want to spend time on the things that I enjoy and that I can add value and that I'm going to make an impact. I don't want to spend time on things that are going to drain me, where, I'm not as efficient, that are just not going to contribute to us, reaching our goals. So I think time management is really important. And again, I think that it starts at protecting it from things that are, that you probably should say no to, or that can I delegate that, or whatever that might be, right? So I'm not saying that's for everyone. Like in your first year in business, I don't necessarily suggest saying no to things. I think you want to explore things and learn and whatnot. But eventually you do get to the point where it becomes really important. And, for me, I have two, young children. I've got a wife, like you said, I got sports outside of work. So it's about balance too, and making sure that I have the energy where I want to come into the business and come into work and feel good and be able to get people excited about what we're doing, right? So that if I'm drained and I'm taking on too much, I'm not going to be able to bring that energy. So I think it's a super important thing for everybody.
Yeah, important. And you said three words that really stuck with me: zone of genius. What does that mean, please? Can you elaborate a bit?
I think it's just the things you're really good at and the things that you enjoy, right? So there's certain things that I probably can add a lot more value than someone else. So for example, on the SEO side of things, right? Or the marketing side of things, like I love it. I'm interested in it. I'm curious in it. I love coming up with new ideas. I love sharing that. So it's like, for me, that is one of my zones of genius. What is not is finances. I don't like, you know what I mean? I know them and I have to know them as a business owner, but I don't want to spend my time in finances, looking at spreadsheets and that's not my area of genius, right? So I think that's for people, I think it's important. Like if you don't know what yours is, like what you do and don't want to do, spend that time, do a little bit of write it down, think about your week, think about the things you did, where you felt good, where you felt bad. And that can actually help you identify what those zones of genius are, or things that drain you, and to be able to help plot out your role in your day.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So something that's not in your zone of genius, farm that out to somebody who is loving that stuff.
Exactly. And there's people who love it, like you said. And then when you have everybody doing the things that they love and they're great at, that's when you can do great things.
Excellent. So, Brock, you've already achieved so much success. What successes are you most proud of so far?
That's a great question. I mean, I got to stop and think about that. Looking back, the fact we are where we are today, I mean, we have an amazing team. We have amazing clients. It's been a great run. What I'm really excited about right now is just kind of the future, right? Like, we've done great things, but there's so much opportunity for us, especially within kind of the AI space. We launched this generative engine optimization services last year. See a lot of opportunity in AI search. So I'm really just proud of like where we're at with the team. I know business is not easy for everybody right now. I think there are businesses that are having a tough time. I think there's lots of businesses that are doing great. And I think gratitude's a really important thing. Like, I'm super grateful for where we're at. The business that we've had a couple of years ago, things slowed down a little bit, and that was really challenging. And I think we just had to work really hard as a team to identify how can we help people, where do we add value, and work diligently to be able to get to the point where we're at. So I'm grateful for that. I'm excited about that. I'm proud of that. But we're not done. We're not even close to done. So I'm not sitting here patting myself on the back being like, we're good. No, we got to keep moving forward and look to the future and continue, doing what we do best.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You can't take anything for granted. And, sitting on your laurels, and, other people are going to take over your competitors. So it's always forward thinking and building things. Like, complacency is a killer in business.
It really is. Yeah. Never sit back and think you're good. And I'm not saying don't take a rest. Rest is important, but you always want to continue looking to the future. Like,
sure. So the flip side to that, Brock, is would you be able to talk about some of the challenges or failures you have, to help other people learn, like adapting, resiliency, work-life balance, lessons learned, kind of?
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be failures in business, things that you try and don't work out. And that's okay. I think there's gotta be failure, because if you're not taking swings, if you're not trying things, then again, we talked about it earlier, you're not growing, right? That's all part of growing. Growing is failing. And, I've mentioned this a few times in other kind of podcasts and things like that. But one of the things that really stuck with me is kind of in the early days of business. We're probably about 5 years in, and it's when we were growing. I think we were probably coming up on $1 million in business, and things were great, and I was feeling good, and I was working this other role, and I kind of, like you mentioned, took my eye off the prize a little bit, rested on my laurels a little bit, and that actually started to have an impact on our team. And within a month, we actually had like three team members quit. And I remember, like, at the time that hit me hard, and I was like, why would people want to leave? Like, it's almost like this family vibe at that size of company, right? When you got 10, 15 people. Yeah. And that hit me hard, and that really, we had to stop and think about it. And, we ended up putting a lot of time into, like, my business partner. We spent a lot of time with the business coach to kind of figure out, why are we doing this, and what do we want, from the business and for our future, and what do we want for our team, and how do we get people aligned with kind of where we're going? So for me, that was like almost like a low point in the business, and we worked our way out of it. It took us a year to kind of identify like what is our mission within the business, and we landed on making life better, right? Like, we know that makes us feel better. We know it's good for the community. So we basically took that, and then we like lived it out with our team. And like every day we're continuing to leave it out. And then it's probably 10 years later now, and you can see the impacts of that, right? So it's like things can happen that, like, where you feel down and you feel like, how can but you got to work your way through it together. And it's not alone. It's not a solo thing. It's like you mentioned, collaboration. Like, you got to work it together, and again, you can do great things. So there's always going to be challenges in business. And again, you have to be able to, especially I mentioned like financial pressure, like, as you get bigger, there's more things you're responsible for. There's more payroll. There's more, you got to continue bringing in leads to continue making sales. And like, you can be stressed about it, and you can let it get you down, or you can just continue moving forward and say, what do we have to do to achieve those things, right? And being able to handle that pressure becomes easier, it's like the snowball rolling down the hill, right? It gets bigger, you gain the momentum. It's the same thing in business, right? You can handle more, you got more strength behind you. And that's something I try to look at every day. Oh,
that's wonderful. Yeah, that forward thinking. I mean, that's what sets business leaders like yourself apart from others, to really make things different and change, and for the better, for not only business, for the community. Love it. So, Brock, what do you do outside of work? We talked a little bit about the ball hockey that you play, but do you have any other hobbies?
Yeah, ball hockey's a big one for me. I mean, I'm playing on like 5 teams right now. I'm playing in. We're actually going to the national championship for the 3rd year in a row in Calgary in August. I'm hyped for that.
Nice.
Um,
What position do you
Outside of
play
that,
for that?
I'm on the wing now. I used to be center, but I got moved to the wing. Maybe my face-off skills weren't too good. So I'm on the wing now, but I love that. I mean, and I try to obviously got to stay healthy for that, right? So just working out. I love hockey in general. Like I love going to Sens game. I'm a huge Sens fan. Big playoff push right now, so I'm excited for that. And then just spending time with family. It's like my kids are 10 and 8 now, so there's a lot of activities. There's gymnastics and music and all kinds of different activities. So it's spending time with them and getting them to those activities and trying to just show them the things that I've learned over the years and it's hard with kids. They don't necessarily want to listen, and I didn't really listen at that age either with when your parents were telling you stuff, but now I'm starting to get it. I'm like, oh, maybe that was a good idea.
Oh, love it. So what's next, Brock? Where do you see SEO Plus going in the next 3 to 5 years? Let's put your future Fedora on there.
Yeah, that's a tough question. The reason why is I feel like, a few years ago, if you asked 5 years forward facing, it was a little bit easier to predict. I think you had a bit more time. Whereas now with all this AI stuff, I think things are moving so quickly, and it's just like, it's hard. It's very disruptive for a lot of businesses. So for us, I think looking to the future, I think we just have to continue focusing in on what we do, like on what we do best. And again, by helping people, whether it's Google organic, SEO, or whether it's AI search, SEO, or whatever that is, I think it's just helping people and knowing, however we apply that, whatever channel that is, whatever site that is, like we're going to be able to help people one way or the other. At one time, there wasn't websites, and then there were websites, and maybe they'll, mobile apps. It's always going to continue changing. So we just want to continue helping people and helping them grow, and that's where we're going to focus our time and effort, and just staying on top of the technology, right? Staying on top of the AI tools and seeing how that we can use that to our company's benefit, but also to our clients' benefit. And I think we'll be in good shape. So I think those are the things we're going to focus on and continue growing. We'll continue. We actually did our first acquisition last summer.
Congratulations.
Marketing. Thank you very much. Yeah, Kyle Turk joined our leadership team. It's been fantastic. Got some great clients who have joined, and it's been really great having Kyle on the team. So we'd love to do more acquisitions and continue growing that way as well.
Well, that's wonderful. It's something you touched on, that curiosity factor. It doesn't matter how big you grow in business. It's always thinking ahead. And I mean, in your case, it's hard to predict the technology, but being on the cutting edge and having a genuine desire to learn, it's so important. So yeah, keep up the great work, Brock. I look forward to maybe interviewing you again in the future after you have many more acquisitions under your belts, and we'll see how you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to that.
So Brock, we're coming to the end of our segment today. Is there something that we've touched on or you'd like to elaborate further, perhaps words of wisdom for others?
Words of wisdom. I think, we talked about it a bit earlier, is, not being afraid to try new things. I think that's really important. So for anybody out there is look through and think, are there areas where you're in the comfort zone right now, and how could you grow? How could I try something new? How could I try something I hadn't really thought of? And some of that is just stepping into new places, right? Like again, might be going to an event, might be helping with a community organization. And a lot of times you might meet someone, you might see something, you might hear something, and that can help you, grow. And I've been hearing this thing lately, and it's basically about luck, where people, they'll go, oh, that person's lucky. They're lucky. And it's like, a lot of times luck is about putting yourself in the right place. And there's this quote that I've always kind of heard, and it's luck is the residue of design. So the idea is you put yourself in the right place, or you have the right framework, the luck will come to you, right? So I think that ties into that. It's like the more people you talk to, the more opportunity you're going to have, right? The more places you are, the more opportunity you're going to have. So it wasn't that SEO Plus was lucky, it's that we created the luck for ourselves, right? So I think everybody can take a piece of that and apply it to their own life.
Yeah, it's by design. I mean, another way to put that, the residue is, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Exactly.
Brock, how can somebody contact you, please?
Probably the best way would be on LinkedIn. So search up Brock Murray on LinkedIn, and we'd love to connect.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Today on the Talk to the Fedora segment, I'd like to thank entrepreneurial leader Brock Murray of SEO Plus on the segment. We hope that the segment has provided some wisdom that you can use to grow your small business. So please subscribe to the eSAX YouTube channel and be sure to check out the hundreds of other videos across multiple playlists for additional great entrepreneurial content. Brock, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Jarrod. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. For more great entrepreneur networking tips, subscribe to our eSAX YouTube channel because eSAX makes networking work.